Okay, so in the previous video we looked at sampling and moving from sound as an analog phenomenon into samples and digital audio. Now we're going to make the jump and look at digital audio in pure data, and we're going to be doing more on this next week as well. The first thing to point out is that pure data has two loops essentially. So there's two kind of loops that are running continuously while you're running pure data. One manages the flow of data through standard objects that we've been using so far. So that is the Metro object, the print object, Moses, trigger, etc. The times object, plus object. So there's one flow of data that goes through those objects. And there's another separate loop which manages the flow of data through audio objects, such as DAC, ADC, that's the digital to analog converter, analog digital converter. Also objects like Fiddle, which does real-time analysis of an audio signal, and the ReadSF audio object, which we used last week at the end to play back an audio file. So if there's an object which is manipulating audio samples, then it is running in the audio loop. If it's an object which is not running audio samples, it's running in the regular, what you normally call the control loop in pure data. One thing to notice is that one way to spot whether an object is an audio object or a regular object is whether it has this tilde at the end of it. So all the audio objects always have a tilde at the end. I think it's meant to look like a sine wave or something like that. So if you see an object with a tilde at the end, you know that it's an audio object running in the audio loop. Now, the audio processing in pure data can actually be turned on and off. Main reason for that is that audio processing can sometimes take quite a lot of processing power, and you might not want, there's times when you need to just turn it off to save your computer, give it a break, or to free up processing time for other tasks. So if audio processing is turned off, then if your patch is making any sound, if your patch is intended to make sound and you have audio turned off, then you won't hear anything. So a very common trap for young players is to ask, why doesn't my patch make any noise? The very first thing the tutor would always check would be, is the audio actually turned on? So in pure data, there's two ways to do that. Probably more than two ways actually, there's probably about 5 or 6 ways to do it. One way, just let PD load up here for a second. One way to turn the audio processing on or off is to put a tick in the checkbox here. DSP is digital signal processing. When that's on, the audio processing is on. You can also, in your patch, create a special message box with a PD DSP1, or colon followed by PD DSP1 in it, or PD DSP0. Does the same thing. You can see when I click in PD DSP1, the signal processing up here turns on. When I click in DSP0, it turns off again. The reason I mention this, and not just say use this one to turn it on, is that if you put it in your patch like this, you can connect up a load bang message to the PD DSP1 message, and that means that as soon as your patch is opened, the load bang object will send a bang out its outlet, which will cause the audio processing to be turned on. So if, in other words, if you want your patch when it loads up to have the digital audio already running, if you want the digital audio processing already running, you could do something like this, put a load bang connected to the PD DSP1 message, and then every time your patch loads, the audio will automatically be switched on. So just a little handy tip, hopefully a handy tip for you there. The other thing to notice about digital audio in pure data is that audio inlets and outlets look different. And if you try and connect a regular inlet to an audio outlet, you're going to get, well, PD won't let you hook them up, or you'll get very strange behavior. So audio playback. I think this is a patch that I introduced last week. Very simple patch which plays back some audio. But the thing to notice here is that if you look at what's coming out of these message boxes is a regular outlet, so not digital audio coming out of this outlet, but there is digital audio coming out of the outlets from ReadSF. So you can just see that they look different. And you should also notice, if you're looking carefully, although it's possibly a bit hard to see, that the connectors between regular outlets and inlets looks different to a connector that's carrying digital audio through it. So the digital audio connector is sort of a bit thicker